making sacrifices were crucial to me, crucial for changing my life. Back in 2020, I started selling shoes. And at the time, my main goal was kind of sell enough shoes, make just enough money so that I can go buy all the shoes that I want. I can buy the clothes and the shoes that I've always wanted growing up and didn't have. And I was going to continue the trend of my whole life. I would get a tiny bit of money for Christmas, birthday, something like that. I would, maybe do some yard work or something. And as soon as I got about $100, $150, I was spending it on shoes every time. As soon as the day that I had just enough to buy shoes, that's what I did. And this, it was a big passion of mine, having shoes, looking up the Jordans that were coming out soon, looking up the, hottest shoes, most expensive shoes. I just loved it. And, so then once I started getting tiny bit of money, I just always wanted another pair of shoes. Part of the reason I remember one school year, I started the year 30 days in a row wearing 30 different shoes. 30 days, 30 shoes. And I wanted to see how long I could keep that up, of never re-wearing a pair of shoes to school. And so I was trading shoes and getting any money I could to go buy cheap shoes, just so every day was another pair of shoes. And I think the reason, it looks cool to other people. If you go 40 days in a row of wearing new shoes as I was maybe 12 or something. How? The questions are, how do you have this many shoes? Where are you getting them? What are you doing? What do your parents? How rich are they? And so I just always thought it looked cool to other people to have all these shoes. For me, like I said, I love shoes. So it's, when I'm walking by somebody, it's probably the main thing I'm gonna notice is what shoes do they have on. It's just the first thing. It's just, instinctive to look directly at the shoes for whatever reason. But when I started selling shoes, like I said, my main goal was to get just enough money. At the time before, when I was young, it was $100 was good enough to get me a pair. But at this time in 2020, I'm maybe 19 years old, 20 years old, and the shoes that I wanted were $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So, I was working I was getting my paycheck and working for, a couple weeks to buy a pair. And so when I started selling shoes seriously, there was something that flipped. There was just, I don't remember the exact moment, but something flipped to where I went from wanting to look cool to other people and always buying new shoes for myself and always spending every last dollar on shoes. Something switched to the point where I sold every shoe that I had in my collection other than like 3 pairs. And my mindset went from I want shoes for myself to I want to keep nothing and I want to get rid of everything. I want to buy them to sell. No matter how much I like the shoe, I don't even want to think about keeping it for a personal pair, at least at the beginning. And so this mindset shift allowed me to I probably had 30 pairs at the time when I decided that I want to get rid of all of them. So that alone right there was maybe 30 pairs. Let's say each one was $200. That's what, 6,000? Is that 6,000? So already, just by getting rid of my personal collection, I have 6,000 to spend on inventory. Instead of having $6,000 worth of shoes to look cool and wear a new pair every week or every day of the week, I had $6,000 to play with. And that's big for somebody starting out. if you're when I started selling shoes, I had maybe $1,000, maybe $1,000, and at the time when I had 30 shoes, I still only had about $2,000 because all the profit I was getting was just going directly into buying shoes for me. And so the name of the game at the beginning is capital. You need capital. You need money to be able to buy inventory. In a buy, sell, trade business like that, you need to constantly be spending money. So I thought of it as, if I have these shoes just sitting here and that's where my capital is locked up in, sure, I may look cool to other people. I may get some compliments for the shoes I'm wearing, but the business is suffering because of it. I'm not able to buy the shoes. I'm not able to keep this thing spinning every day because my inventory or my capital was locked up. So the sacrifices that I made at the time were, I don't want to look cool. I don't care about looking cool for other people anymore. I don't care about buying the $2,000 off-white ones, the Chicago One Highs, and wearing those to get, and posting them on the Instagram to get some, praise and recognition. And so for probably the first 2 years of selling shoes, I wore about two pairs of shoes. I wore the UNLV Dunks, which, those are legendary shoes for me now because, I changed my life. And the whole time I was wearing those shoes. Everything I did was in those shoes. And so those will always be a memorable one for me. And then the No Love free runs. If you know about the No Love free runs, what a time. The No Love free runs were the shoes that I would wear to work and would work out in and all that. And I wrote a big No Love on no on one foot and love on the other. And I would always do this for some reason growing up. I would always be writing on the shoes and all that. But yeah, the No Love free runs and the UNLV Dunks were the two shoes that I wore for the first 2 years of business and then ultimately self-development and, changing my life. And so, there was many sacrifices that had to be made, but that was the first one. The first one was, I'm going to sacrifice my appearance for a bit. You don't want to look sloppy. I admit there was times during that period where I would look sloppy and I would look unprofessional, which I was at the beginning because I had no idea. I didn't know anything about self-improvement, mindset. I didn't know anything about that. So at the time, yeah, I was sloppy. But, so you don't want to look sloppy when you're on this journey. But you might want to sacrifice spending the profits that you make on the new bag and the new shoes and the new clothes. When you're getting started, you gotta put all your energy towards growing the business or whatever it is. And so, even shopping, I didn't want to go do that anymore. I loved shopping growing up, and then once I started the business, I was like, shopping, that it's kind of a waste of time. And then for a lot of other things that happened where I just wouldn't want to do it anymore, and I had to sacrifice my time to the business in order for that to grow. So that sacrifice of me going from my whole life always buying shoes, and that was my main thing. I was keeping up with the releases, always picking out outfits for what shoes I would match them with. That first sacrifice I ever made in my life, before I even knew about self-improvement, but I had just gotten started with this sneaker business, and I made that sacrifice to care less about my appearance. And it was just, it wasn't just caring less about my appearance, but it was a statement to myself that things that are taken away from the business and from my attention, they're kind of on the back end right now, and that had never happened before. And so that saying no, I'm not going to buy these shoes to keep them when I can turn that into however many, however, whatever price I sold them for. And the reason I kind of started thinking this way because I learned from the other people around me, but not in the sense you may think, not in the way of they told me, you're gonna have to sacrifice. I wouldn't spend money on this. You're gonna have to cut some things off. Nobody told me that. I learned from watching everybody else do the opposite. The guys that I was working with had been working at this place for much longer than I had, and still just they're comfortable buying these shoes, using the profits that they were getting from selling the shoes to buy more shoes for themselves so they could look cool, look like they were doing well to other people when in reality they were struggling. Using the money they got from the shoes to go buy new cars, and I saw the way they were living, and it just didn't make sense to me. Why would you still live a terrible life but try and get other people to think that's not the case? That's what I did for a long time, but then when I started the sneaker business, I finally understood. Let's go all in on this, and let's forget about, what other people have to say or think, and we could worry about all that later. Let's just focus on this for now. And one of the great decisions I've made, one of the best decisions I've ever made. And so, you can learn from the people around you. Learn from what others aren't sacrificing and look at their life. If you see somebody driving a nice car, wears all this nice clothes, but they're struggling, just learn from them. Say, me personally, I would rather give up the car, give up the clothes for now, and actually live a great life. That's what I personally would do. I would rather enjoy my life and feel great about what I'm doing than having people think I'm doing great and think I'm making all this money, and in reality I'm struggling. That's the reality of most people. They buy the new house, the new car, the new clothes, the new iPhone, all that. They can't sacrifice because they want other people to think they're doing well. And that's something I'm very proud of that I've done. When in that moment, a flip switched, and before I was that person that wanted other people to think I'm doing well, but for some reason I said, no, I don't want the Dior ones anymore. No, I don't want the Off-White ones. No, I don't want the Louis bag. No, I don't want the Mercedes. I just want to grow this business, actually make money, actually be doing well, and see what happens. And so sacrifice is key, especially at the beginning. You're going to have to sacrifice some things. In this video, I just talked about shoes. There's a million things I can talk about. But, sacrificing other people's made-up perception of me was a sacrifice that I made that, turned out to be a big one. It turned out to be a big one. And it taught me a lot. Now I couldn't care less about, what, like, all the things and the toys. Like, all that's going to come, but that's not going to mean much. That's not going to mean much. That's just going to be a result of the people that I help and the work that I do. And so once that comes, it's going to be the same thing. Maybe just never do anything because you want other people to feel a certain way about you. If you're actually doing good, none of that matters. None of that matters. So sacrifice. Let me know in the comments what's one thing you're going to sacrifice. Thank you so much for watching. I'm out here in Colombia. Let me know if you'd want to see anything. Street interviews, approaches, day in the life. I don't know. Let me know. Let's go, baby.